Welcome, and thanks for tuning into this presentation. You're probably here because you have a basic interest in how to pay for nursing home care. Maybe you or your spouse or your parents will be entering a nursing home soon, or possibly you're interested in planning for the future. We're going to review the basics of how you can pay for a nursing home without you or your family going broke and being able to save your legacy for your children. This is me, and I go by Greg. I grew up in Columbus and received a degree in business from The Ohio State University, and then I went on to earn an MBA and law degree from Capital. Why do I practice elder law? Well, mainly I grew tired of business and divorce litigation. In middle age, I found an area of the law that I could really help clients without the hassle and animosity of litigation. In elder law, I get to save families quite a bit of money and really help them, and the stress level of my practice is considerably less. I love this saying, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time, and this is very true. In any area of our lives, we know that if we develop a plan, we'll always come out better in the end. In any area of our lives, it's important to be proactive and not reactive, and that's where planning comes in. And when we're talking about planning for Medicaid, we're looking at three main areas in our lives. First is family. We're concerned about protecting ourselves and our spouse, also our parents, healthy adult children, and then also minor and disabled children. When we're looking at our finances, we're looking for tax reduction or avoidance, expense reduction or avoidance, and we want to keep maximum control. And when we're looking at our health, we're looking at the best medical care possible at all stages of physical and mental capacity. More people than we think will need a nursing home in their life. And these statistics are really eye-opening. Of adults who reach the age of 65, 70% will need long-term care support services sometime in their lives. Nursing home admittance is necessary when skilled nursing care is required. Skilled nursing includes tasks only performed by a nurse daily, supervision of special diets, administration of medications, observation for fall risk, memory complications, catheterizations, or what doctors refer to as an unstable condition. Certain conditions such as diabetes, prior stroke, dementia, and mobility problems lead to a higher percentage of people eventually needing a nursing home. Of adults who reach the age of 65, 35% will eventually enter a nursing home. That works out to a 57% probability that either person in a couple will stay at a nursing home during their life. The average nursing home stay is 272 nights, some shorter, many longer. 10% of those admitted to a nursing home will stay 1,000 days or longer. The life expectancy of a male reaching age 65 is 18.2 years, or 83. The life expectancy of a female reaching age 65 is 20.8 years, or almost 86. 10% of all Americans reaching age 65 will be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. 38% of all Americans reaching the age of 85 will be diagnosed with the same. 22% of all men entering a nursing home will be there more than 1 year, while 36% of all women entering a nursing home will be there greater than a year. Here's the eye-opener. Most of us really don't realize how expensive a nursing home stay can be unless they've written the checks for a loved one. The average cost of a nursing home stay in Ohio is $76,000 a year. Some facilities are as costly as $144,000 per year. Can you write a check for $6,300 or $12,000 every month? How's this going to be paid? Let's compare this cost to the cost of driving a car. By car insurance industry estimates, you will file a claim for a collision about once every 17.9 years. That's if you're an average driver, which, whether you're willing to admit it or not, you likely are. The average automobile claim paid for a non-fatal accident is $61,000. If you obtained your driver's license at age 16, the odds are quite good that you will experience some form of accident by the time you're 34. Over the course of a lifetime, you can expect a total of 3 to 4 accidents. So the total average claims paid per life is $183,000 to $244,000. And you have to ask yourself, if you're a gambler, do you drive without automobile insurance? Now think how you would pay for a nursing home if a family member is admitted and the stay lasts for 1, 2, 3, or more years. Can you write monthly checks for this for unknown years? It's really kind of scary when you think about it. Should you just give all your family's money away to a nursing home? Ultimately, it's your choice. You can either gamble your future and that of your family on good health and not getting into a bad accident, or you can strategically plan for something that is a common occurrence among the elderly. Today, we'll take the time to learn about alternatives to losing everything and how Medicaid planning can help preserve a life's savings. What exactly is Medicaid? Well, Medicaid is a joint program between the federal government and the state of Ohio, which provides nursing home coverage for those disabled or over the age of 65. Who qualifies for Medicaid? Ohioans who have under $2,000 in assets, with no gifts above $2,000 in the past 5 years, and income under $2,382 per month. Now, these 3 qualifications are really important, so throughout this presentation, try to keep them in mind. Now we're going to go through some common questions that people have about Medicaid. The initial question everyone has about Medicaid is, do I need to be poor to qualify? That's a big no. Careful planning can allow citizens to qualify for Medicaid, even if they're worth more than $1 million. One does not need to spend down all the assets to qualify, and you may have heard that term spend down before, and we'll address that more later. You may have heard that you can keep your house and qualify for Medicaid. Is this true? Yes, but Medicaid will allow you to keep your house and qualify for Medicaid, but will place a lien on your home and eventually seek Medicaid asset recovery for the entire amount of the nursing home cost. That lien will stay on your home forever until satisfied. That leaves less for you to pass on to your spouse and children. This next question is one that I think that most people have confusion about. How are assets calculated? Do I just add up everything I own? Well, the answer to that is no. There's 4 different asset classifications in determining whether someone qualifies for Medicaid. Some count, some do not. A few slides ago, when we were looking at the Medicaid qualifications, you were probably wondering, what is the 5-year gift thing? Well, when counting assets, Medicaid looks back 5 years and counts any gifting of property as a current asset. This is known as the 5-year look-back rule. This can be a positive or a negative. Another question I hear quite frequently is, what if my income exceeds the $2,382 per month maximum under Medicaid? Well, Ohio Medicaid regulations allow for any excess income to be placed in a very specialized trust. The nursing home resident then can use this money for almost anything except room, board, and everyday medical expenses. Now, let's spend a few slides talking about facts and myths surrounding Medicaid and paying for a nursing home. We're going to start off with a biggie. Many people believe that Medicare will pay for a nursing home, when that's absolutely false. Medicare has a maximum stay limit of 100 days and only for rehabilitation. Usually it ends up being only 15 to 30 days. As soon as your doctor states that you have reached maximum recovery, Medicare benefits stop. Here's another big myth. Most people believe they need to spend down all of their assets below $2,000 to qualify for Medicaid. It's absolutely false. Although some nursing homes may recommend this, rarely, if ever, is it necessary to spend down all your assets. Another myth I hear quite frequently is if I put my assets into a revocable living trust, this will shield my assets from Medicaid and I can qualify. This also is false. Medicaid counts these assets in a revocable living trust towards the $2,000 limit. Here's another big myth. Nursing homes which accept Medicaid patients are of a lesser quality than those which do not accept Medicaid patients. And I have personal knowledge of this. Nursing homes which accept Medicaid patients can be just as qualified, clean, and medically sound as those which do not, although certainly facilities are going to vary from building to building. I recommend taking tours virtually if you can, which will allow you to compare and notice that many nursing homes that accept Medicaid patients are equal to, if not superior, to private pay-only nursing homes. Here's a myth that's got quite a few people into trouble. I can just transfer my house and money to my children and avoid the Medicaid asset limits. This is false. If you need a nursing home within 5 years of a house transfer, you probably will not qualify for Medicaid at all. Any gifting to children within that 5-year look-back period will be added to your total assets, as we've discussed before. Gifting to children may fit into a Medicaid plan. However, it must be done pursuant to Medicaid regulations, documented properly, and timed correctly. Here's a myth that comes up from time to time. A prenuptial agreement or separate titling of assets between my spouse and I will limit my countable assets. That's false. Medicaid looks at the total assets of both spouses, regardless of title, to determine if one is qualified. Now that we have some basics of Medicaid behind us, you may be wondering, where do we go now? How do we start? Well, let's start with the Medicaid planning goals. We want to minimize assets to be counted by Medicaid. Categorizing assets properly is super important. We also want to shield assets from Medicaid asset recovery. After the death of the nursing home resident, Medicaid will seek to recover its costs from the deceased's estate. We want to plan to minimize those exposed assets. We also want to minimize the income to be counted. We're going to try to reduce exposed income. Also, we want to take advantage of Medicaid's 5-year look-back rule. And we want to provide maximum estate protection. Qualify for Medicaid while shielding your lifetime earnings for your family. So how do we go from goals to a plan of action? Well, there's 3 buckets when we're looking at Medicaid planning. The first is long-term planning for couples and individuals, because it's going to be the same. And later on, we're going to see an example of how that can happen. The second is crisis planning for couples, and we also have an example for that. And then third, crisis planning for individuals, and we'll also look at an example for that. First, we're going to look at long-term planning options for couples or single. Now, this is the expensive way to go. You could purchase long-term care insurance. It's very expensive, even if you're healthy, and even that will not cover all the long-term care costs. You also could give away property, and we've talked about that previously in this presentation. The downside is the property is no longer yours, and you're also hoping that 5 years passes, and it could put you in jeopardy of not qualifying for Medicaid at all, and that's quite a dangerous gamble. Now we're going to look at long-term planning options for couples or singles which has tremendous value. We're going to take advantage of the 5-year look-back rule and place the vast majority of our assets, main house, vacation house, cars, investment accounts, into an approved, qualified Medicaid trust. Believe it or not, after 5 years passes, these assets are untouchable and uncountable by Medicaid. Now, if a nursing home is needed within the 5 years, this trust gives us a wider range of options for qualifying. And this planning is significantly less expensive than crisis planning. Let's now look at a long-term planning example. We have a married couple or an individual with a house valued at $375,000, no mortgage, savings of $150,000, investment accounts or IRAs, and 2 cars valued at $40,000. So in May of 2016, everything was placed into a Medicaid trust. Now, if a nursing home is needed in June of 2021, all of these assets are unreachable by Medicaid. Medicaid will not calculate it into the qualifications, and these assets are not subject to Medicaid asset recovery. So we qualified for Medicaid, and Medicaid will pay for almost all of the nursing home care. $565,000 in assets are protected for the spouse or the children. We've had 0 spend down, and the family retains everything. This is the Holy Grail. Now we're going to move into crisis planning, and this is very expensive. When the shock occurs that someone needs long-term nursing care, most people will do no planning at all and spend everything before qualifying for Medicaid. They will private pay in the nursing home until their assets are under $2,000. And unfortunately, this is suggested quite a few times by nursing homes. This is absolutely not necessary. Even at the point of having to enter a nursing home tomorrow, significant assets can still be protected. Now we're going to look at crisis planning for couples, and this is much less expensive than not planning. For a couple, significant assets and income can be shifted to the healthier spouse to protect a tremendous percentage of all of their assets. Gifting to family may be wise at this point if carefully planned and done correctly. IRAs and real estate may possibly be shielded, and also they may want to look at an exempt spend down. They can pay off debt, they can invest in home improvements to increase the value of the home, and they can also pay for furniture for the nursing home. There's lots of work in planning, executing the plan and supplying Medicaid with the proper documents, but a couple can still save a significant amount of their assets and money, sometimes everything. So now we're going to look at an example of crisis planning for a couple. And please don't get bogged down in the details here. They're not really important. The important thing is to see how this turns out at the end. We have a couple of $300,000 in assets. Max, age 80, has an IRA of $150,000. Irma's IRA is $100,000. They have a joint cash account of $50,000. Max's income is $1,500 per month, and Irma's is $3,200 per month. Max needs nursing home immediately after a hip fracture recovery. Almost everything can be shifted to Irma, and Max's IRA can be shielded and paid to Irma. Max will qualify for Medicaid. Now, they will have to spend down $21,000, but in that they can pay debt, invest in home improvements, or buy Max furniture. And there is no excess income because Medicaid is only going to look at Max's income and not Irma's. So you can see the advantage if we only have to spend down $21,000 compared to $300,000 of their entire lifetime accumulated wealth, and then qualify for Medicaid. So the advantage is $280,000. So this family got to keep $280,000, which they wouldn't have otherwise, but for the planning. Now we're going to look at crisis planning for a single person. And this, again, is much less expensive than no planning. For an individual, generally less assets can be shielded. IRAs and real estate may possibly be shielded, depending on the exact circumstances. Exempt spend down is always an option. Paying off debt, investing in home improvements to increase the value of the home, or purchasing furniture for a nursing home. Gifting to a family is usually a large part of this type of planning. Again, lots of work in planning, executing the plan, and supplying Medicaid with the proper documents, but an individual can still save usually half of everything they have for the family. Now finally, we'll look at an example of crisis planning for a single person. Let's say Betty is 78 and widowed. She has savings and IRAs of $150,000. She has a house valued at $250,000, and she has income of under the limit of $2382. Betty's at fault in a car accident. She has a broken pelvis. After rehab, she must enter a nursing home for life. So here's the plan. Sell the house, and then we have total assets of $400,000. We can spend $20,000 for Betty's comfort, and then gift half of the remainder, or $190,000, immediately to family, and set aside the remaining $100,000 for private pay to the nursing home under Medicaid rules. Now the result is $190,000 going in reserve to be set aside for the nursing home payment, but there's full qualification of Medicaid after this amount is gone, versus $400,000 to the private pay of the nursing home. So you can see that there's a $210,000 savings that just by planning, we've saved Betty's family. These examples are for illustration purposes only. Each Medicaid plan involves different facts for different people in different circumstances. The planning elements are wide and much more varied than we've shown here. The point of the examples is to show that planning can result in tremendous savings and lifetime earnings, so your legacy can be saved for your family. Now let's look at the advantages of Medicaid planning. First of all, it's tremendous peace of mind that you know that you've done everything you possibly can to protect your family. You'll be saving significant resources, which could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You also will have your intentions carried out exactly as you want. You may be able to help family members who may have special needs. Is this expensive? Well, it depends. It's much more expensive not to plan. Look at this as prepaying to save a significant legacy for your family. Now let's review. Advanced planning can legally shield everything you have from Medicaid asset calculations and Medicaid asset recovery. In qualifying for Medicaid in a crisis, you may be able to protect everything, most likely at least 50% and up for your family. It is never necessary to spend down everything. There are many different strategies to reduce assets and income to help you qualify for Medicaid, depending on your exact situation. Now, the choice is yours. No planning and risk losing everything to pay for a nursing home, or engage in Medicaid planning with a professional to preserve as much of your lifetime savings and legacy for your children as possible. It's also important not to gamble on advice. Seek out an attorney experienced in elder care and Medicaid law. Professionals without this experience may try to charge fees for planning which is not sound, will fail, and is not Medicaid compliant. Our office is a member of Elder Council, which is a network of elder law attorneys, and we're also a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. Both of these organizations provide continuing education and updates on all areas of elder law. Congratulations are in order. You made it to the end, and I hope it wasn't that bad. This topic is very dry and complex, but I hope you can see how beneficial it is to your family to plan. We will be reaching out very soon to follow up, but if you'd like to speak to us sooner, call anytime. Our contact information can be found at portlegal.com. We at Port Legal greatly appreciate the time you've spent with us today and look forward to working with you very, very soon.